Home sounds like my mother's voice. It feels like my grandmother's hug. It looks like my brother's smile. It feels like my sister's nurturing. That's what home feels like to me. Now, before we get this video started, I want to ask y'all to bear with me because I do feel under the weather. My voice is kind of gone. I'm coughing. I'm kind of sneezing a little bit. Fingers crossed it's not what I think it is. But we're going to keep it moving anyway. So this past weekend, I got to visit Atlanta and celebrate my younger brother's college graduation. Amazing time, had a great couple days. I love when I get to see my family because to me, family is everything. I never take it for granted. I never want that to not be important to me. I never want to act as if my growth and progression in my personal life will ever separate me from my people and the people who made me who I am and allow me to continue to be who I am. Something I do think about though when I see family, I always get this weird sense of longing and loss and kind of nostalgia and almost a grief and sadness for times past and the fact that we only get together a couple times a year now. And I don't know, things are better than ever if we're talking finances and things we've achieved and all the situations we've overcome, and our circumstances have improved so much, but time just passes and passes and passes. And I think the older we get, the less we check in sometimes, the less we're able to be around each other and communicate. And it hurts, I'll be honest, it hurts. What it made me think about was this Welsh concept called hiraeth. Or if you can't roll the R, you're an obnoxious American like I am, hiraeth will suffice. Please forgive me if that's not the right way. But hiraeth is kind of akin to homesickness, to nostalgia, to grief, to longing, to loss. And you're longing for a place to which you can't return. People, places, times, environments that no longer exist or you no longer have access to or just no longer are what they used to be when they used to be magic. And what you yearn for is way deeper than just a point in a place on a map. It's so much deeper than that. I read a quote one time that said, hiraeth is a pull on the heart that conveys a distinct feeling of missing something irretrievably lost. It's a unique blend of place, time, and people that can never be recreated. A sense of grief, yet also deep gratitude. So first I want to talk about what is home to y'all. You know, what does home feel like? For me, I grew up in South Jersey, right? When I think on a surface level, that's home to me. It's always going to be home. It's where I became who I was, where I became who I am, where I grew, where I laughed, where I lost, where I cried, where I rose up. You know what I mean? Learned to believe in myself and overcome circumstances and trials and tribulations. All that started in South Jersey, 509B Atlantic Ave, Egg Harbor City, New Jersey. I love my city. But when I go deeper, I think about things like peace. I think about tradition, family, faith in a better future, comfort. A place that no matter how far I go or how much I grow, it can always make me feel like that little boy again. You know, the innocent little boy that just saw so many colors in the world and saw such a bright future and was so happy, going through so much, but so happy, so grateful, so locked into being his biggest self. That place doesn't have to just exist in South Jersey, but that's what home feels like to me, you know? Home sounds like my mother's voice. It feels like my grandmother's hug. It looks like my brother's smile. It feels like my sister's nurturing and protection. That's what home feels like to me. And I'll be honest, at 28, being so far away from that on a day-to-day basis, the way it used to be growing up, I do feel homesick sometimes. Not because I want to go back. I know there's nothing really for me in South Jersey. I left for a reason. But just being around my family, every time we get together, I think about all the times and it's just not the same anymore. And the love is still the same, but doing it once, twice, 3 times a year just is not quite as impactful as waking up and seeing my mother every day, or going to visit my grandma whenever I feel like it, or coming home and seeing my siblings, getting into whatever shenanigans we want to get into that day, because that's just what it was. We always had each other, and we always will, just in a different way. When I think of home, I think of both pain and progress. I think that there is this bittersweet feeling about it, you know? So many of my worst times came from home. You know, wearing my coat in the house and putting hot water on the stove and boiling that to take baths and not having heat sometimes and hot water, and sometimes the lights get turned off, going to the food banks. It's a lot of pain involved in home, but on the other side of that, it's so much progress, so much purpose. I found my purpose at home, to lead, to inspire, and to help y'all believe in magic. I found that at home. It taught me something, perspective, it taught me that. Everything I saw taught me that. That came from home. And I miss that sometimes. And when I meet people today who see me at 28 so far removed from that rough around the edges kid from South Jersey that knew nothing and was trying to figure it out, people don't know where I came from, you know? People don't really get to embrace that growth that I experienced, and that times and times that I tried to learn how to be a man, and I'm still trying to learn how to be a man, because some things you don't really get growing up, you know? If you know, you know. We don't have to go into detail. This idea of hiraeth, it makes me think of things like Studio Ghibli films. Once again, forgive my pronunciation if it's incorrect. There's also a TV show called Over the Garden Wall, which is an amazing show. Very, very old-timey. Kind of harkens back to a classic tales of like the Grimm brothers, I believe, and kind of some older cartoons and different fables and things like that, fairy tales. And also incorporates the grim and the gruesome and the dirty and ugly and traumatic aspects of those films, those stories, those origins, things that we grew up on as kids. And it just makes me feel, there's this eerie kind of beautiful feeling that I get when I watch that show. It's so hard to explain. If you've ever seen Spirited Away, you kind of get what I'm talking about, you know? I watched that film for the first time a while back. Though I had never seen the film before, though it's a fantasy film, there's nothing real about the film. It made me feel like I was missing something when it was over. But I was also so grateful and so fulfilled with what I just experienced that it felt like my life was different, you know? Even now, I'll play the studio, like I'll play One Summer's Day so often because it takes me back to that place of, man, the world and life is so beautiful, dog. And what's sad to me is that as we get older, as we become adults and we have responsibilities and families and things like that, we get so disconnected from the magic of our childhoods. And I think that's where a lot of this hiraeth comes from. We miss something that we think no longer exists. Because in a lot of ways it doesn't. I go home, my middle school's gone. Turn into an old folks home. It is what it is, you know? I go home and most of my friends are no longer with us. Some moved away, much love to them. I moved away. A lot of them are dead. A lot of them locked up. Just is what it is. When I go home, I don't really feel home like I used to. And it's weird, because I see my family and I love my family and they make me feel at peace. But after that, I don't stay too long because there's nothing else that makes me compelled to stay around in a place that doesn't really feel like home. It kind of feels like there's more of a black cloud over top of us that we can't escape from unless we have the perspective to know that it exists in the first place. So now as an adult, I'm 28, I'm pushing 30, right? When I talk about my purpose is to help people believe in magic, I really mean that, yo. I mean that. There's no reason why as we get older and as we age and become more mature and distinguished, that we should let the colors and the magic of our childhoods just dissipate and disappear forever. That's a crime. To live your life in grayscale should be a crime against humanity. Yet most of us don't see it that way because we're so indoctrinated, we're so consumed by the matrix and the system that says we have to do it this way and that way and be this and be that, that we forget that we are magical beings. We're supposed to dream big. We're supposed to, take responsibility and be disciplined, do all of this, but damn, yo. What happened to the you that was watching Dragon Tales, yo? When you played Pokemon Red for the first time and felt that feeling, yo, what happened to that, you know? Watching Teletubbies, watching the Rugrats and all that was possible. What happened? Rocket Power, SpongeBob, Kids Next Door, where you don't want to grow up. You want to stay young forever. And as long as you're young, I believe it was like under 12 or 13, you get to be a part of the Kids Next Door. You get to fight crime and fight against the evil tyranny of adults who are trying to stifle your creativity and stifle your magic and your childhood wonder and dreaming. And we should return to that. Let's go back to being kids next door. So what I think the key is to this whole life thing, I don't know, man. I don't know much. I'm just a mortal, man. At the end of the day, bro, I think we should strive to create home. I grew up in South Jersey, right? 609, moved to Georgia, finished high school, got a scholarship, went to Nashville for college, moved to Chicago for business school, and now I live in Cincinnati, Ohio. Another step on my journey, right? If I was to argue what the key to my comfort in doing so was, as far as moving to new places and never having been to Chicago before I moved there, never having been to Cincinnati before I moved here, I make it a point to create home everywhere I go so that I don't have to miss home. And I'm still on the surface level gonna miss my people, my city, my neighborhood, my childhood, times that I can't get back, or the people I lost that's tattooed on me right now. I'm still gonna miss that. But my challenge is, how can I create home where I am? How can I find love? How can I find passion and purpose? No matter where I lay my head at night, no matter where I go to work, no matter where I go to the gym, no matter where I drive to every day, how can I find that sense of home? That's my challenge to y'all. I don't have the answer. I just know I make it a point to try everything I can to bring that feeling of home back to my life. Cause seeing my mom, my grandma, my brothers, my uncle, my siblings, my pops, my stepmom, seeing them this past weekend was amazing. But it's never gonna be a time where we're all together every day like it used to be. That's just not gonna happen. We grow, life changes, we move around, We build our own families. As time goes on, it's easier and easier to separate. And I'll say myself, I gotta be better calling my grandparents. I called one of my grandmothers on Mother's Day, and I hadn't spoken to her in over a year, bro. I felt terrible. Just been living life, you know? But I think being so consumed and being so distracted by just living life and doing your thing, as much as I preach being selfish and focusing on yourself and bossing up, I think that leads us to longing and to missing things that no longer exist or things that are going away. All my great-grandparents getting older and passing away, and my grandmother's 72, she'll be 73 next month. My mom is 51, my pops is 52. I remember my mom was in her 30s. It's like that, it's over. So while we're here, nobody knows how long we get, but look, we have to find a way to make life feel like home, because I promise you, the magic still exists somewhere. And you don't have to give it up. Just because you got responsibilities does not mean you have to give it up. Just because you got a family, you got things to do, you got bills to pay, I know, we all do. Does not mean you have to give up that magic. Couple tips I can give to y'all. Go spend some time outside in nature. Remember being a kid and you were running around the woods and rolling around in dirt and riding bikes and jumping in pools and going to the lake? Let's do more of that this summer, yo. It's a perfect time. I get you want to be lit and all that, brunch here, this trip, this vacation, but what about just existing in the nature of our own neighborhoods and just finding time to spend outside with sunshine? You hear birds chirping. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but it's some birds chirping. You see rivers flowing. You watch squirrels run up trees and grab acorns. That's the beauty of life, and that stuff exists no matter where you go. You don't have to be in your home location to find that. Spend time outside. Talk to your loved ones more. Disconnect from these screens for a little bit. I say this as I'm on a screen recording, but please disconnect a little bit. Read more books, man. Meditate, pray. Think about things you're grateful for. Take long drives and sit by the beach. Go to a bouncy house as an adult. Go to a bouncy house. Go skydiving. Something to bring that fire back and that mojo back to your life, because you owe it to you to live this thing to the fullest capacity possible. And if we let that magic die, if we fall victim to hiraeth and we don't do anything about it, we're never gonna see the magic again. And we're gonna live lives that never fulfill who we truly are and never give the world as much beauty as we're supposed to. That's all I got for y'all, man. I love you all, and Godspeed.